you know, the filmmaking process is very complicated, complex. It takes a lot out of the makers of the film. What was Satyagraha all about, and how did it begin as a concept, and when did Mr. Bachchan become part of this project?
Oh, it began as a concept 4 or 5 years ago. Well, I was still shooting Rajniti, and at that point of time I only had an idea, and then I started taking notes and I started working towards finding a story. And after I finished my film Arakshan, I had a story in mind.
Is this a sequel to Arakshan?
Not at all. It's, in a way, you could say, because of the multi-dimensional and several multi-star cast film, it could be closer in terms of structure to Rajniti, but Arakshan was about a particular issue. This is about a wider social issue where, you know, which is kind of like, you know, become it's, as you call, the season of protest, which is happening all over the world. So as we were working on the script, things were happening all around the world, whether it was Wall Street or whether it was Brazil or Bangladesh or Anna Hazare's movement. They were all kind of like, I mean, we started working on the street much before Anna Hazare's movement happened.
It wasn't inspired by the Anna Hazare movement, or was it?
Not at all, not at all. In fact, as I said, even when I was shooting Rajniti, we had started working on the idea, me and my co-writer Ranjam Rajapalli.
Of a peaceful revolution, or a revolution which needed peace?
Well, eventually a protest has to be non-violent, because a violent protest will beget more violent, you know, and that is not going to be a solution. The solution will always come through non-violence.
And how did Mr. Bachchan become part of the project? Did you
Yes,
visualize the whole film with Mr. Bachchan as the lead character?
It doesn't work like.
Okay.
Ajay Devgan.
It doesn't work like that.
Okay.
You know, you have the story and you have the characters developing, you have the dynamics and you have the conflicts, and eventually, as your story begins to take shape and the characters begin to emerge and become stronger, you start thinking of who might, you know, fit into that character best. And as soon as we had this character of Prabhakar Anand, Dwarka Anand, I'm sorry, Prabhakar Anand is from Arakshan.
And you thought of Mr. Bachchan to do that role?
And we immediately thought of Mr. Bachchan because it was, you know, his stature, his age. But I didn't immediately go and narrate the story to him till I was completely ready with the script, because when you narrate your story or script to an actor, and especially like an actor like Mr. Bachchan, who will have questions, who will want to satisfy himself, you have to be completely ready.
Right, and both of you are politically, you've dabbled with politics, and you burnt your fingers, if I may say so, and moved away from politics, but you're very alive politically. Mr. Bachchan, when you know, for many of us who were growing up in the 70s and 80s, you were the person who took on the establishment, and you continue to do so, even though in your interviews you talk about evolutionary change, but your films, your roles that you play is all about a revolutionary leader. Is this film in the same line of thinking?
Well, the story is, as Prakash Ji just told you, it's really a story between a father and a son. A father who's lost his son, a son who's in search for a father. And during this concept of their relationship, the circumstances that prevail in and around them, socially and politically, driving them to come together into a silent protest. That's what the story is all about. Now, these are stories, these are films, and we play characters and we play roles. What our individual and personal thinking is, I at least would like to keep it personal and individual. But if for some reason, and if there is an aspect of a particular story which can become inspirational for somebody, then it's a moment of joy and happiness for us. And it's a bonus that comes along.
But that would be an ideal solution or an ideal state of being where you can divorce yourself from your character and not be, not be part of it, not bring in your own political views. That would be an ideal state of mind, isn't it? Can you do that? Don't you bring some of your political thinking into the film, just like Mr. Jha would bring some of his into the film?
There are many actors that do that. I don't, because I like to treat my profession as a profession. But there are many actors I know who are very conscious, almost close to being social activists.
That's right,
And
like Miss Azmi and the others.
That's right. Shabana is one. Nandita Das is another. They're all very strong in their beliefs, and I admire them for their beliefs and the fact that they will not necessarily go with a particular story as narrated to them or asked of them to do if they do not feel strongly of what they're doing is in consonance with their own social thought.
But they are actors. I mean, I would like to tell you the film Saab Bibi, where Shabana acted a corrupt politician's role. You might have seen that film.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily, she
It's
is
not
an
always
actor.
it
She is
happens.
not. She's an actor. And she understands her position as an actor. And I would also like to correct you a bit. I'm not a political person with any ideology who tries to bring about his ideology into my work.
You did, contest an election, and you are politically aware. So one expects, and you make films which are so overtly political.
Yes, I would like to tell you that I've never been endorsed. I've never endorsed any political ideology. I've never been a part of any political party. I only wanted that job of a member of parliament, and the only way you can qualify
to bring
it
about changes in society,
to have access to resources which I could bring to my constituency, to be in a position to do that, whether government, non-government, national, international resources, which are all available, but member of parliament, they being in a position to have access to them, they don't do it. And I thought I could manage it well. I could bring about changes in educational, agricultural, or industrial kind of ambience of the constituency. And I wanted the job, and the only way you can qualify for that job is by
to fight an election.
Fight an election.
And Mr. Bachchan, you said it several times that you never want to be in politics again. You've tried it once and you don't want to do that. But you have very close friends who are politicians, and you have done a lot of work which could be seen somewhat political in nature. Now, the fact that you act in Satyagraha and you act in Arakshan, so many films which are so overtly political, is it some kind of a vicarious need to be part of the political system, at least through art?
I also worked in black and I also worked in Pa. Nobody ever talks about them, about how to handle somebody that is physically challenged.
Sure, you did Diwar. That doesn't mean that you wanted to be part of the mafia. I understand
exactly.
that.
So we are just playing a role. Yeah. I don't think that far too much emphasis should be given to that. But yes, when we are performing it, we want to perform it to the hilt and make sure that whatever we portray is correctly done. And a large portion of that depends upon how it's written and how the director wants it to be portrayed. And that's what we put in, really.
Are you completely putting in the hands of a director? Do you?
Yes, we are. I like to be like that. If I have discussion and debate questions, I would rather do that before I go in front of the camera. And we do that. With Prakash Ji, we've had many sessions before actually getting on set. During the writing stage, during the narration, during his concept of what the scenes are going to be like. I have questioned him, he has questioned me. We have arguments on why this is like this and why shouldn't it be this.
Do you feel that?
But all of that is, before we actually go on set.
Many of your directors like Mr. Jha or Karan Johar and the others, they're so much younger than you. Do you feel that they get overawed by your presence
No, not
and
at
they
all.
don't do justice as directors?
No,
I'm
no.
sorry, I don't mean that offensively, but I just a question.
I've never been able to understand this, and I don't believe in it either.
Yeah, and is the symphony, perfect when you work with a particular team? Do they question you and ask you for retakes just as they would with other actors?
Absolutely, yeah. I would love for somebody to keep doing that to me.
Okay.
Jitna maango.
Yeah.
You prefer to do
Yes,
number
of course,
weekdays.
yes.
He would love to, he'd love to do a scene over and over again. Like, I mean, he just wants it to be the best.
Right. And has that changed? Was it always like that with you, that you wanted to give several retakes and not a method actor, and you rehearse and come and that's it, one shot?
But he does rehearse, and he's ready, he's prepared, and yet he wants to better his performance. That's his hunger.
Okay.
It's.
But over time, these concepts change. When you're younger and you're working with an older director, whom you have respected and admired, then you dare not question them.
You didn't?
And you are saying that now the reverse is happening, where I'm older and the director is younger. No, it never happens like that. But we have at times the liberty to express ourselves and say, can we do something else, and can you allow us to do something else? Sometimes they agree, most of the times they do not.
Today is Mr. Rajiv Gandhi's birth anniversary, and he was a very close friend of yours. Today, when you look back, what was he like as a friend for you, and did you make friends of a similar nature after that?
The Nehru-Gandhi family has been close to us from the time of my parents. And that association I will always respect. I always did respect it, and I will in the future as well.
Thank you very much for speaking with us, Mr. Jha, Mr. Bachchan, and
Pleasure,
wish you all the
Smita.
success for the new film.
Thank you, Smita. Thank you. God bless you.